Hi, I'm Max from Eat the Rich Art. I use they, them and he, him pronouns, and I am here today to let you know how my markets went in 2025. I don't have an update for you on like everything I've made. That will be coming in the what I made in December video. Should have a year wrap up as well in it. Just because I crochet so much, I'm not going to stop crocheting for the next week, so there's no point me doing what I made in 2025 now because I'll have to tack another clip on the end anyway with the last week's worth of stuff. But yeah, so for now I'm going to let you know everything I made and sold this year that was specifically stock, so this isn't counting any gifts, and then I'll let you know my total income, my total outgoings and my final product profit. And yeah, that is the video that you're going to get, so let's go. Anything I say on here hasn't sold will be on my Ko-fi store unless I specifically said that I decide to keep or gift it instead. So if you'd like anything, drop it down there. I'll try and pop videos up, photos up and stuff, but I don't have photos of everything and this is going to be a long edit, so bear with me. So to start with, I did 10 events this year, I think. So that will be 3 appearances at Coventry Art Market, or Bristol Art Market Coventry edition. So that's those 3. I did the Aldersley School Summer Fair, the Aldersley Scouts Summer Fair, the Meriden Summer Business Fair, I did the Metchley Manor Summer Fair, I did 2 appearances at Fargo, and then I did the Charles Moore Car Boot last week, and that is all 10 events that I've done. So I'll let you know for every product how many events I took it to as well, and then we can do best sellers and stuff like that. But yeah, so I had 1 alien. This will be in semi-alphabetical order. 1 alien, I took that to 3 events before it sold and I made £5 off it. I had 9 animal head keychains, so this is my elephant, cow, pig, cat, my toothless keychains. I think I had some bunnies as well at some point. So yeah, that's those 9. I have 5 of them left, which is the elephant, the cow, the pig, 1 toothless keychain and a little cat face. So I made £22 from the 4 that I did sell. I think that was 2 bunnies. Oh no, I sold 5. 2 bunnies and 3 toothless keychains. Then next up was bees. I made 12. I sold 6. Apparently I took them to 7 events and I have 2 left in my stock, so I reckon I probably sold 10, but yeah, I made £33 off of those, so I must have sold 11. My numbers are off, bear with me a sec. Okay, fixed it. Yeah, so I took them to 7 events. I sold bees at 6 of those 7 events and I made £33 in total off of bees. There is 2 left in my stock. My Brontos, I made 7, I sold 5. I have the 2 jumbo ones left, so that is £48 off those 5, because they sold for different prices at different markets. I made 1 cardigan. I ended up gifting that, so that's elsewhere, though that might end up back on my Ko-fi store. That's the Beetlejuice purple and green cardi, because the person I gifted to it doesn't fit, so yeah, that could be available. I will post on my Instagram if I put it up. My chunky T-Rexes, I made 4. I sold 2 in the end and traded 1. The other one I gifted, so that was £8. My commissions, I sold 18 different items as commissions for a total of £280. My elephants, I've made 2. I still have the purple one, so that was £5 that I made. They came with me to 2 markets. and sold at 1 market. I've not been saying how many events things were at. My Brontos were at 9 markets and sold at 5. My Cardi was at 1 market and didn't sell. My Chunky T-Rexes were at 3 events and sold at 2 of them. Obviously my commissions are for every event, so I've just put like 0 because I tend to get those through online orders, but I do offer them every event as well. My elephants were at 2 markets and sold at 1, so back up to speed. My felt badges I put out at 9 markets because I didn't put them out for the Fargo Christmas market. I had 46 to start with, I've got 43. I've sold 1 and gifted 2, so that is £2. My fidget caterpillars, I had 5 of them. I have sold 2 and gifted 1. They've been at 5 events with me and sold at 2 of them, so that's £8. My reversible fidget octo has been at 4 events with me and I've not sold it. My fidget poppers that are birds, so my crow, my pigeon, my mallard and my chick have been at 4 events with me and not sold. My chick mushroom fidget poppers have been at 5 events with me and sold at 4 of them. I've made 12 this year. So I sold 7 and I've got 5 left. So that's £47 because again, prices go up and down depending on the event. My frog mushroom fidget poppers, I have sold 2 at events and 3 as commissions. I've made 12 in total, so there's 7 left in my stock. They've been at 4 events with me and sold at 1 of them, so that's £25. My mushroom fidget poppers, I made 18. I've sold 10 at events. They've been at 5 events with me and sold at 4 of them. So there is 7 left in my stock because I've gifted 1, and that is for £39 that I've made off those. My fidget snakes, I've made 22 and sold 12. I've gifted 1. They've been at 5 events with me and sold at 4. So I have 9 left in my stock and I've made £48 off them. My fish, I made 12, I've sold 5. Yeah, they've been at 9 events with me, so you'll notice a lot of things have only been at 9 events, and that means that either I didn't put them out for 1 event or I didn't have them for the very first event that I did. Usually with the plushies I just didn't have them for the first event because I was trying to focus on wearables and then shifted. So yeah, they were at 9 events with me, they sold at 3 events and I made £21.50 off the 5 that I sold. My frog keychains, I made 4, I sold 4. They were at 2 events, I sold 2 at each event, so that's £12. I'm not making those again though because they're just too fiddly. My gremlins, I had 2, I've kept 1 and then I sold 1. They were at 3 events with me, so I made £12 off the one that I sold. My happy pills, I made 13. I have 6 left. And I think I've gifted 1. Yeah. So they've been at 9 events with me and they've sold at 4. I made £20 off the ones that I've sold. My hippos, I had 2. No, I had 3 different hippos. So I had 1 that was at the July events, all 3 that I did. So that was made out of acrylic. It was just a little tiny one and it was sort of more traditionally hippo shaped. Then I had 1 that was a plush snuggler, and then I have 1 that is a big fat chunky one in plush yarn that's quite big. So I've made 3 of them and I've sold all 3. So the acrylic hippo was with me for 1 market and he sold for £3. The mini plush was with me for 2 markets and he sold for £4. And the big fat chunky one was with me at 2 events and sold for £9. My jester beanies, I had 3. I sold 1 and gifted 2, so that was £10. My jumbo panda, he was with me for 7 events, guys. I was dragging that one around, but he finally sold for £10. I've put that he didn't sell at any events. He sold at 1 event, clearly. But yeah, £10 eventually because I just wanted rid of him, so he sold at Halloween. My Labubu keychains have been with me for 9 events. I've sold 2 of them. I've still got 2. So the 2 blue ones have sold and they've sold for £6 each. I'm probably going to put the black ones down to £5 and just try and shift them to be honest. They are on my Ko-fi. They're currently on clearance for £3. If you use code clearance50, you get 50% off anything that's in the clearance sale section of my store. So the Labubu keychains are part of that. My leggy frogs, I had 9. I sold all 9 of them. They were at 4 events with me and they sold all 4 events. See, that for me, that's a bestseller. Because I've sold them all and they sold at every event I had them at. But I just hate making them, so they won't be coming back. So that was £33 I made off those 9. My loaf cats are similar. They've not sold every event I've had them at, but that's because 2 of those events were just absolute slogs to get through. So that was the Always to Go Out Summer Fair and the Metchley Manor Summer Fair, where I didn't really sell anything anyway, and they just didn't sell. So I had 14, I sold 9 of them, there's 5 left in my stock, and I made £49 off them. My mini bears, so this is 2 products kind of smashed together into one category. So I had one little guy that was like actually sort of teddy bear shaped, and then I've got my 3 ball shaped bears. The one I still have is the brown bear. He is also on clearance. I think he's down to £1.50, maybe £2. But my koala sold online. My mini bear and my mini panda both sold at market, so that is £10 that I made off those 3. My mini bird, just a little acrylic parakeet that I made and put on a keychain, he was with me for one market and he sold straight away for £3. I made a mini bunny that sold straight away for £3. I made a mini walrus that sold straight away for £3. This is when I was trying patterns out in DK before I made them in plush, and just making stuff straight away in plush now, so maybe I should bring the walrus back. My octos, I have had them for 9 events. They have sold at 7 events. I had 14, I sold 8, and I have 6 left in my stock. I have made £21.50 off those because I put the price up from £1.50 to £3 at some point, and then I also had a couple of really derpy ones that I sold for £1 each. So I love them. They are also a bestseller for me. My patchwork bears, which again I just want to shift. Honestly, at this point I just want rid of them. I have had them at 8 markets where they've actually been out. They've sold at 1 market. I sold 2 of them at that 1 market for £10. There's 13 left in my stock because I've gifted a few, but please just buy them. They're also in the clearance section. Pig, I made 1. I should probably make another pig. I had him at 2 markets, and he sold for £3. He's the one who sold to a priest. Go back and watch that vlog if you want context for that conversation. That was a very interesting one. Plague doctors, I made 14. I have sold 4 at markets and 2 online. So that was 9 events I took them to. 3 that they actually sold at for £32.50 in total. Pouches, I made 3, I sold 2 and I gifted 1. So yeah, I had them at 8 markets before the last one finally sold. So that's £4.50 I made off those. My realistic mushroom plush I had at 1 market and he sold for £3. I'm not remaking him because I lost the pattern. To put it simply, I'll try and find it again at some point, but I don't really like making mushrooms because they take ages. My mini spiders were also a bestseller and I don't know why I didn't make them for Halloween, but I probably should have. They sold for £3 each. I had 2 of them at 1 market and they just went. My squids, I've made 4 of them. I've sold 3 of them. Had them at 6 markets, they've sold at 2 markets, and that is £12 in total that I've made off those. I have 1 left in stock, and all of them have been bright pink, apart from 1, which was purple and green. My stegosauruses, I had 4, I've sold 4. I had them at 4 different events, they sold at 2 events, and that was £19 in total that I made. My turtles, I made 16, I sold 12. Had them at 6 events, they sold at 5. Again, one of those was just one of the completely dead markets, and that was £35. My whales, I had 11, I've sold 8, and I think I gifted one. Yeah, so that is 2 left in my stock, and I have made £27 in total. My beanies, my other beanies, I had 3 cat ear beanies. I've sold one of them for £8, so I've still got 2 left. They are also on the Ko-fi. I have one chunky ribbed beanie that's still on the Ko-fi. My Dino Duck sold at the first event he was at for £5. My Mothman sold for £5. My Baron Bat, I had him at 2 events and then he sold for £5. My Alien Cat, I had 2 events, sold for £5. My dragons, so one of these was a chonky dragon, 2 of them were like traditional style dragons. I had those at 2 events. So I had the chonky dragon at 1 event, and then I had the other dragons at a second event. All of them sold on their first event, so I should probably make more dragons even though I hate making them. I've put 23 here, but I definitely made more than that because each of the bigger dragons sold for £18. So I made £41 off dragons. My mouse I had at 1 event, he was on clearance, so he sold for £2. My goat I had at 4 events and he's still on the Ko-fi. My Arctic fox I had at 2 events and he sold for £2. My Kuromi I've had at 4 events and is still on the Ko-fi. My implings, I had 3 of them. I've had them at 3 events and they've sold at 2 events. There's still one left on the Ko-fi. He is the blue and pink one. So that's £33 in total I've made off the implings. My giant spider I had at 2 events. He sold for £15. I'm not making him again because he takes so much yarn. He took like 2.5 balls of yarn to make. So I might make him again for next Halloween, but I'm not making him again for an earlier market. My pumpkin men, I sold 2 at 2 events. Had 1 each at each event, so that's £27 because I put the price up halfway through. My chunky geese, so this is the Silly Goose by Dasher Crochet with Love. I've made one that was about this big, and I've made one in Banat, so he was huge. And yeah, both of those sold. Not at their debut events actually. So the smaller goose I had with me for the old market, the Bristol old market, at the start of October. He didn't sell there, he sold then at the Fargo Halloween market, and then I made the Banat one for the Fargo Christmas market and he sold there. So the giant one sold in its debut, the small one didn't, but that's fine. That was £34 I made off geese. My Remy the Ratatouille sold at his first event for £12. Oh no, I did have him at the alt market as well. I had him at 2 events and he sold at the Fargo Halloween market. My chunky fox I had at 3 events. He sold at Christmas for £12. The chunky raccoon I've had at 4 events and he's still not sold, so he's on Ko-fi. I think he's also on clearance, so he'll be about a £5. My pumpkin bears, I've made 2. I've sold 1. I had them at 3 markets. So that is £9 off the one that I did sell. My devil bear, I had 2. Both of them sold immediately, basically, so that was £21. I had one at the alt market and then one again at Fargo, so that was one I restocked. My Baphomet I had at 1 market and he sold for £9. My Patchwork Bunny I had at 2 markets and that sold for £6. My hot dog pups I made 2 of. I've had them at 3 events and I've sold 1 of them, so that was £9. My Aussie Bull, I absolutely adore my Aussie Bull and I can't believe that he's not sold. So I've kept the original one that I made, but if you like him, I will put him back up on the Ko-fi because like he just wasn't getting noticed. It didn't matter where on the table I put him, no one was like, I like that. Like there was like maybe 2 people who were like, that's cute. Cows just don't do well for me. That's one thing that like I'm about to come up to my mini moo as well on the list. So I had my Aussie Ball, my mini moo and my cow head keychain. all of them I've had for ages and they've just not sold. So cows are not my thing apparently. My Grim Reapers, I made 4 of them. I've sold 2 of them. That was another one where I restocked it between markets. So I sold one at the old market and one at Fargo. I had them again at Fargo Christmas just to fill a gap, but no one bought one for obvious reasons. It was Christmas and that's a bit morbid. That's £21 that I made on my Grim Reapers. The other 2 are on the Ko-fi. My Chunky Mallards is another one I had to restock between the old market and Fargo. So I sold one at the old market and one at Fargo. That was £15. My Chunky Mushy Boys, I've made 8 of them. I've sold 4 for £24 in total. I've had them at 3 events and they've sold at 2. My Boo Bears, I made 1. He is still with me. He is on clearance on Ko-fi for £3 at the minute, I believe. My Possums, I made 4. I've sold all 4. I've had them at 3 events and I've sold them at 2. That's £17. My Perry the Platypuses always sell on the first event that I've got them. So I had one at Halloween, Old Market, one at Fargo Halloween and one at Fargo Christmas, and they all sold 1 each at those events for £18 in total. That again is another product I've smushed 2 together in the same category, so that is both my big Perrys and the tiny keychain that I made. My Pumpkin Bat, I made 2. I've had them at 3 events and I've sold 1 of them for £6. My Ghosts, I made 3. I've had them at 3 events. I've sold 1 per event at £18. My Chonky Bat, I had him at 2 events and he finally sold for £4. My Clown I had at 2 events, that sold for £9. My Skunk I've had for 4 events, still on the Ko-fi, definitely on clearance. My Mini Goose I had at 3 events before it sold for £4. My Mini Moo is on the Ko-fi on clearance. I had that at 4 events. My Gecko I had at 1 event and he sold for £4. My Rock Golem, I've made 4 of them. I've sold 3 at events and 1 online. I had them at 3 events, they sold at 2 of them, so that's £22 in total. My BMOs, I've made 6, I've sold 5. So that has been 3 blue ones and 2 pink ones. My purple one's still not sold, so that is on the Ko-fi. That's £28 in total. My rats, I've made 7, I've sold 6. It's the black rat that people don't like, which is a bit odd. So yeah, that's on the Ko-fi. I think that's on clearance. Had him for 4 events and he's not sold. But £28 I've made off the 6 that I have sold. My capybaras, I made 20 capybaras. These are definitely a bestseller for me. I've had them at 3 events, I think. Yeah, and they've sold at 2, and I sold 1 online. So that is 10 in total that I've sold. No, 11 in total I've sold. I've got 9 of them still. I have a pink one, a blue one, and then 7 brown ones. So if anyone would like those, they're on my Ko-fi. My mini docs, I have made 6 and sold 4. This is the pattern by the girl who knots. It's wonderful. I love it. I've had them at 3 events. I sold all 3 events. So that is £15 I've made off the 4 that I've sold because I put the price up. My mini frogs, I've sold all 6 of them. I've had them at 3 events and they've sold at all 3 events for £18 in total. My mini bird plushes, so this is the egg-shaped birds. I've had 5 of them in total. So that's 2 crows, a pigeon, a mallard and a chick, and I've sold all of them. So I had them at 2 events, they sold at both events, so they are also definitely a bestseller, so that's £15. My gummy cat keychains, I've had at 3 events, they've sold at 2 events. I had 10 of them and I have 2 left, so I've sold 8 for £23 in total. My skull keychains, I made 5. The first one I made sold straight away at the Bristol art market, so I thought, oh, I'll restock and I'll make 4 for the Fargo Halloween market, and then no one has touched them since. So they are all on the Ko-fi. I made £3 from the one that I did sell. My stickers just generally haven't been going great, which is a bit of a shame. I think I need to change the designs that I've done, but yeah. So they're all on the Ko-fi. My Live Laugh Toaster Bath I have sold 1 of, and my Trans Rights pack I have sold 2 of. So the Dan, Phil, Gerard Way and Youngblood ones haven't been doing great. Like I said, they're on the Ko-fi if you like any of those people. My Gingerbread Man, he sold for £35 at the first event he was at. My Reindeer didn't sell, so he's on the Ko-fi. My Chunky Pigeon sold straight away at the first event he was at for £25. So did my Seasonal Geese. So I made a tree goose and a Santa goose, and they sold as a pair for £25, so £12.50 each. And then finally, my little Shonky Penguin. I've had him at 2 events. He didn't sell at either one, but my mum has him now. So he is my mum's. So, in summary, my worst sellers are anything cow related. And black rats. People don't like black rats. Weirdly, my clearance box and my goofy things have been doing well, apart from that one goat, which, fair enough, he looks like shit. To be honest, I can recognise when something I've made is just awful, and he's not up to snuff really for the quality I want to be selling and the quality I want to be making. But I've just been whacking him in the clearance box at £2. I might even knock him down to £1 because I just want rid of him at this point. But yeah, so that is my best and worst sellers. My best sellers, I've been telling you as I've gone through, has been basically any of the pocket pals. So my turtles, octos, frogs, birds, etc. People love them, they're cheap, they go well. My Pumpkin Man, he's gone quite well every market. My Perry the Platypuses have been doing quite well. Yeah, I think that's most of my best sellers. One that's been a weird bestseller for me was over the summer. Every time I had a fish it'd sell. And then we hit August, and then I've not sold a fish since. So I don't know if they're just a summer thing, maybe. But yeah. And then I suppose the last things I've got to tell you are my goals for next year. I didn't set any goals for this year because I didn't start the year planning to start a small crochet business, and then at some point I thought, fuck it, I'll do it. And here we are. So I can't tell you whether I met my goals for this year. Really, I think the only goal I had was to have my hobby pay for itself, which I've met. So yeah, so I'll tell you my total income, my total outgoings, and then I'll tell you my goals for next year. So this is where we get statty, so the iPad has to come close so I can read. My total income has been £1,621.50. That's good. That's really good. Between 10 events, that's £160 per event, which, considering I've had 3 very disappointing events this year, to still be averaging £160 is not bad. I've not done the maths for you on whether it's still disappointing if I take the disappointing events off. Should I do that now? If I take 3 disappointing events off, I've been averaging £230 per event, which, yeah, that's quite good. I'm happy with that. So my total outgoings, this includes, right, all of my stall costs, all of my travel costs, whether I've bought food at the market, all of my materials. This also includes little bits of yarn that I've bought for myself personally that I haven't actually used for the business, because I bought them with the intention of using them for the business, and then they've ended up being used for gifts and stuff. So that is all included in that. Anything I've spent with the intention of it being for the business, even if it's not actually been used for the business, is included in this outgoings. My total outgoings are £1,149.56. So this is considering that I don't buy patterns at the minute because I'm not making enough to be spending every time I want to make a new pattern. I think the only patterns I bought were for this guy and the penguin that I ended up making, but the customer paid both times for those, so that was included in the cost of their commission. So yeah, I've not bought any patterns for myself for personal business use. It's been because a customer has wanted a specific pattern. So I've bought 2 patterns. I've bought a lot of yarn, though I'm not the kind of person where I like having a stash. It stresses me out, honestly, because I just look at it and I'm like, what am I going to use that for? So I like to buy yarn with purpose. Obviously, I have been very kindly gifted some yarn, so I'm trying to work through that as well. But yeah, all of that is included in those outgoings. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. This also includes, I bought a table, I've bought a gazebo, I also bought a trolley, a few other bits, all in that, which means my final profit is £471.94. Oh, I also took square fees off. There we go. That was the thing I was trying to get to in my noggin while I was rambling. So yeah, £471.94, which isn't going to sound like a lot considering that I don't account for my labour either to make things or to work the markets. I don't actually include that in the cost. But for me, this means I'm getting paid like £47 per event, basically. So 50 quid for a day's work, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I don't want to be making like, I mean, obviously making money would be nice, like having a bit of extra income. I just want to have a hobby that I don't have to pay to, like, out of my own pocket to participate in. Because I'm going to get deep with you for a second. Being disabled and not driving means that having a hobby that isn't expensive is quite hard. So it's like sports hobbies, I've got to pay to get there and back. Because once I've done a workout, I can't walk to and from the bus because the nearest bus to me is a 20-minute walk away. So if I'm trying to factor in doing a workout on top of that, whether that be through playing a team sport or just going to the gym or going for a swim, that gets quite difficult for me. Like it wipes me out having to bus that, so I have to pay for taxis and stuff so that I can actually function for the next few days afterwards. I also work full time, so like hobbies have got to fit into evenings and stuff, but also looking after my house and looking after myself needs to fit into evenings. And that's something that I struggle to find a balance between, especially then if you're having to add travel on top of it. Because it's like, yeah, my local gym and swimming pool is literally 5 minutes down the road, but for me, that 5 minutes down the road is the 20-minute walk to the bus, the 5 or 10 minute wait for the bus, then the 5-minute bus. So that's already turned a 5-minute journey into a 40-minute journey both ways, when it would have been 10 minutes both ways. It's now over an hour plus the like hour-ish I'd spend in there, so that's 2.5 hours. So that's my entire evening gone, realistically, because if I go at 5, I'm getting back at 7:30. Then I've got to cook and eat and clean up after cooking and then try and fit like having a shower and stuff in there as well. Like having a hobby that's outside of the house isn't really feasible for me. At the minute, at least while I don't drive. I am going to try to learn to drive in the new year. But yeah, so having hobbies is expensive. Socializing is expensive. So being able to have a hobby like crocheting where I'm not having to worry about how much I'm spending on materials or how much I'm spending on storing it or where I'm storing it, because I've got a cupboard that it all fits in, and actually being able to get out to socialise at the markets and being paid to go out and socialise. Like my taxi is paid for to and from the markets, or I can give my mum a bit of fuel money for driving me around without feeling guilty about that is quite nice. So my aim isn't to be making thousands and thousands of pounds. My aim isn't to be paying my rent off crochet. That would be lovely, but I just want a hobby that isn't putting any stress on me financially or time wise, and it's not, and it's nice. So yeah, I'm happy with the money that I'm making is what I'm trying to say there, because it means I've got a hobby that isn't stressful for me to have. But yeah. So after I've then got deep and rambled, my total items. So my total stock that I took to markets was 537 items. My total items sold was 305. Between gifted items and stuff like that, I have 230 items remaining in my stock bag. Most of that, I'm not going to lie, is badges and stickers. Like at least 100 of that is badges and stickers. So like 230 sounds like a lot, but it's not really. My lessons learned this year are that I need to be more confident in my pricing. I have put my prices up and up and up and up as we've gone along, because I started off charging like £2 or £3 for everything, and like £10 for a hat and £5 for a big plushie, and I've got to the point now where I'm more confident in what I'm making. For one, like my skills have improved. I'm making more complex stuff. I'm not just making octos and turtles. I'm making like the big pumpkin sack man, the giant reindeer, giant gingerbread man, like bigger things, but I'm also making more detailed things like the implings. So I'm charging more for the time and labour that it's took me to do them. Like this guy, he's not getting sold because he is my partner's, but to start with I probably would have only charged like 10 or 15 for him, but he would definitely be a 20 or 25 pound plushie now. So I've learned to be more confident in my pricing, be more confident in like how much my time is worth. I've learned to pick my markets better, so that is one thing that I am very grateful to the Discord server I've joined for. It's a convention Discord server, but the people in there have been really helpful for helping me pick my events next year. Because I want to start doing some bigger events. So I had a look at Coventry Comic Con, I had a look at Northampton Comic Con, some markets in Nottingham, stuff like that, just going a little bit further out to slightly bigger events. But they've helped me pick and choose which ones will be good for my audience, and will be good for what I make generally. So that has been helpful. The last market of the year was not a good example of me picking my markets better, because I went, oh yeah, a car boot, that's fine, that's easy money. It's not easy money, especially not the weekend before Christmas, dumbass. So that was not a mistake I'll be making next year, and next year I'm really hoping to get into the Fargo markets for both dates at Christmas and for Halloween, because those have been very, very good for me. I will also be booking both dates of the alt market if they'll have me back in Coventry. I've applied for some Nottingham art markets, and yeah, that is the plan. I also have Faire in September, which will be nice. So yeah, some bigger events coming up, and I think I might do either MegaCon or MCM. Maybe, but we'll see. Yeah, don't be afraid to stand out is another lesson I have learned. Obviously you see all of these bestseller lists and things that other people make, and everyone goes, oh, like this is a market make because it's quick and easy and simple. Like the chicken nuggets, the chickens, the octos and turtles, I know I do, but that's somewhat I'd like to phase out. Other things that people make a lot of. The bees. I do like making the bees, to be fair, so I think I'll keep them, but I'm not just sticking to the things that everyone else says sells. I'm making things that I genuinely want to make. So focusing on the spookier stuff, focusing on the more woodlandy creatures, and just enjoying myself and not being afraid to make something complex just because it's complex. This is something that Robin from Notting Hill Crochet has spoken about a lot. She hates making the simple repetitive stuff because it's boring. I'm having fun. I'm funding my hobby, so I'm not limiting myself to the stuff that sells. And yeah, and that is making me stand out against other crochet vendors, which is really nice. Like, not that I'm shitting on what they make. If they're happy with that, then they're happy with that. But yeah, I'm just not being afraid to make stuff that sparks joy and stands out a little bit, because that helps them then as well, because we're not making the same thing. And it helps me because I'm different to them. So it's like a win-win for both of us. They're making stuff that's quick and easy for them, that's not stressful, and I'm making stuff that maybe is a bit more stressful but is fulfilling for me. So yeah, swings and roundabouts, or apples and oranges, whatever. But yeah, don't be afraid to stand out. I've improved my stall layout this year, gradually over time. I've added more organisation to the stall through baskets and shelves and things like that. I will be continuing to upgrade my stall through the next year. And yeah, that is something else I've done. And I've also learned that UKCA testing absolutely sucks. I hate it so much. I've had so many like little projects that I've been so excited about and so happy to sell. It just completely failed the test. And then I'm like, great, I can never make that again. Fantastic. But yeah, so I hate it. It takes so much time. It takes so much energy. Editing the videos takes so much energy. Making the files takes so much energy. And it's just like, it's so sad to end up having to waste things that you've made. But that was a lesson learned. Finally then, I've rambled for long enough. What are my goals for 2025? I would like to do 20 events in 2025. So that is doubling the events that I've done this year. I have the book fair, book Extravaganza in Coventry booked for February, so that will probably be my first event of the year. I'm going to make some new products for that, because I'm going to make book sleeves and maybe some other things, maybe some bookmarks as well. But yeah, so that'll be fun. I'm going to try some new events out, maybe try some new locations out, because I am very Coventry based because of the whole not driving thing. Yeah, so my aim for 2026 is 20 events. So far I have 2 booked, 2 applications I'm waiting on coming back. And I'll find out some other things as we go, I guess. I'd like to make some more online sales. That's why I've really been pushing the Ko-fi throughout this video. I've made 2 online sales and I'm very grateful for both of them. Thank you, Christine and Alice. You are lovely people. Thank you very much for supporting me. But yeah, I'd really like to push the Ko-fi and get that going to help me between markets, because with the nature of crochet, I end up only really being able to do either 1 market a month, or I can do 2 or 3 events in the same month, but I need to take a month gap in between to restock. So also, like, for my own energy levels, because I struggle with that and I forget that I struggle with that until I'm struggling with it, and then I go, oh okay, I did a fucky wucky. So yeah, can't remember. Yeah, online sales would be helpful for that, because that shifts the stock in between markets that I don't necessarily want to be dragging back and forth between markets. But then it also helps me not have to do so many markets. I know I've just said I want to increase the events that I'm going to, but online sales would help with, like, me not necessarily having to, being forced to. Means that I can take events that I want to take just because I want to take them, without having to go, is this a good decision? Yeah, lets me take more risks. gives me more passive income, because then that means that I can buy materials more consistently instead of having to do one big haul every time I have a market, and using that money that I've made from that market for the next haul for the next market. Some online sales in between mean I can do smaller orders and just top up the colours I need to. And yeah, some more online sales. I've not set a numerical goal, just because marketing online is horrible at the minute. Trying to get any social media traction is quite hard. It's the nature of things. It's all of the AI junk that's being fed into algorithms and stuff made by actual humans isn't being boosted as much. So if you would like an easy, cheap, free way to support a small business at this time, please boost our social medias. Please share us around, share our posts, like, subscribe, do all of the things that we tell you to do, because we're asking you to do them, so that we can get that little bit of traction and get to more eyes, because that helps us out with our businesses. That helps us get to more eyes that might mean more sales. It means that we get to more eyes that might like our content and engage with it and let us benefit financially from that. So yeah, the easiest, cheapest, freest way to help a small business at the minute is boosting us. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, do all of it, because it really genuinely just helps. We're not lying to you when we say that. We don't like to just see the numbers go up, though that is nice. It is actually helpful. So yeah, my other goal for next year is linked to doing more markets. Obviously, I've made just under £500 in actual profit by doing 10 markets, so I'd like to hit £1,000 in actual profit by doing 20. I think that's reasonable. That would mean that I am at the point where I have to report it to the taxman. Hello, taxman. Which is a bit sad, but that's fine. Yeah. Tax the rich, by the way. Google's not paid taxes in years. Tax them. Stop coming after us, small people. Tax the rich. Anyway, I'd like to hit 100 YouTube subscribers. This seems like quite a low goal. Like, I see people setting like, oh, I'd like to reach 1,000, 2,000 in a year. I know that Katie, the Celestial Homebody, reached over 10,000 in her first year of doing YouTube. But I feel like 100 is reasonable. And then I can increase the goal if I meet it, and then I get to meet multiple goals, and that's nice, is where I'm coming from. So I've got, as of recording this, 58 subscribers since August-ish. I think I started uploading. So that's 4 months. I reached 50 subscribers. Well, just over 50 subscribers. Nearly 60. So if we continued on that path, then that would be 100 by like April. But I'm being cautious with my goals, because I don't want to like hype myself up and say, yeah, I'd like to get 500 and then get like 80. 80 would be nice, don't get me wrong, but like, I'm being sensible with my brain and sensible with my mental health and setting the goal low to start with, and then I'll increase it if I need to. So the initial goal for subscribers is 100 by this time next year. And I think that is everything that I wanted to say. Yeah. This will be going up the last Monday of December, I think. So I hope you had a nice festive season. Please let me know what you got up to, what you did. If you got any crochet stuff for Christmas or crafty stuff in general. I know I have at least one crafty gift coming, and I'm very excited to show you it all. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I know what it is. I was told to forget what it is, but that was quite hard when it lived in my kitchen for 3 weeks. Hi Mum, I love you. But yeah, I'm really excited for that and to get to use it, and it's something I've been after for a couple of months, so yeah. If you'd like a hint, Sarah from Crochet Vision was my inspiration for wanting this item. So I'll let you know what that is. If you've got anything that you're excited about, please let me know. And yeah, I hope you had good festive times. If you didn't celebrate the festive times, I hope you had a chill. Everyone needs a chill in December. December is not a good time for not chilling. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hype, comment, do all of the things that I've just gone on the rant that is really nice for you to do for small businesses. Have a nice day.